The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the tranquil lake, where the gentle lapping of water against the boat's hull was the only sound breaking the serene silence. I leaned back, letting the soft breeze ruffle my hair as I stared at the horizon, lost in thought. Beside me, Lily was fiddling with her notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Jake," she said, breaking my reverie, "what do you think about this idea?" She turned her notebook around to show me her latest story concept, a tale about a haunted lake filled with spirits of the past. I grinned, admiring her enthusiasm. "I love it. The idea of a lake holding secrets. It's perfect. We should explore that theme more. Maybe add a character who finds their way back to confront their past." Exactly. The protagonist could be forced to face their fears, maybe even confront the spirit of someone they lost. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. I can almost hear the whispers of the lake calling. "Whispers, huh?" I chuckled, shaking my head. "Let's not get too spooky just yet. We're here to relax, remember?" Lily rolled her eyes, a playful smirk on her lips. "Relaxation can be spooky, you know? Besides, it's a writer's job to be inspired by the eerie." We both laughed, but I could sense a certain thrill in her voice, a shared understanding that stories often came from places of darkness and uncertainty. The lake stretched endlessly before us, its surface glistening under the sun. A deceptive picture of peace that I couldn't shake off. Then, without warning, the atmosphere shifted. A sudden splash disturbed the stillness, and we turned our heads in unison. My heart raced as I saw a man flailing desperately in the water, his arms thrashing against the surface. "Lily, look!" I shouted, urgency fueling my voice. "We have to help him." We both jumped to our feet, adrenaline coursing through our veins. I grabbed the oars, and we began paddling furiously toward the struggling figure. "Hold on, we're coming," I yelled, my voice echoing across the water. But as we got closer, the man's desperation turned into panic. He was sinking, and my heart sank along with him. "Jake, he's going under," Lily cried, her voice laced with fear. "I can't reach him," I shouted back, my arms burning with exertion. The waves seemed to swell, pushing us back as if the lake itself conspired against us. "Just keep paddling." The man's head bobbed below the surface, and I felt a cold wave of helplessness wash over me. "I can't. He's too far," I gasped, my heart pounding in my chest. Suddenly, he disappeared. I froze, the weight of that moment crashing down on me. "No, no," I screamed, but the water was eerily calm again, as if it had never held a life within it. Lily's hands were shaking as she dropped the oars, her face pale. "What just happened?" she murmured, disbelief etched across her features. "I don't know," I said, my voice trembling. "We have to get back." The boat drifted slowly back to the shore, the gravity of the situation settling heavily in the air. The laughter and warmth we had shared moments before felt like a distant memory, replaced by a chilling silence that enveloped us. Once on land, we stumbled into our small apartment, still reeling from the horror we had just witnessed. "We should record what happened," I suggested, my hands shaking as I reached for my audio recorder. "Yeah," Lily said, her voice distant. "Maybe we can make sense of it." We set the recorder down, and I pressed the button. This is Jake and Lily documenting the tragic drowning we just witnessed at the lake. As I began to recount the events, the weight of our experience hung heavily in the air. It was only when we played back the recording that the real horror emerged. Beneath our voices, a faint whisper echoed through the speakers, chilling us to the bone. "Did you hear that?" Lily gasped, her eyes wide with fear. I nodded, my heart racing. The whispers were a haunting reminder of the life we couldn't save, but they also ignited an unsettling curiosity within me. What secrets lay beneath the surface of that lake, and why were they calling out to us? The sun had barely dipped below the horizon when Lily and I sat at the small, round table in our dimly lit kitchen, the air thick with a sense of unease. The haunting whispers from our recordings echoed in my mind, each syllable twisting like a knife. I stared at the audio equipment strewn across the table, the playback device blinking at me as if it knew something I didn't. "Jake, do you really think it's connected to what happened at the lake?" Lily's voice broke the silence, a hint of dread lacing her words. She leaned forward, her brow furrowed. The candlelight flickered, casting shadows that danced on the walls. "I don't know," I admitted, running a hand through my hair. "But we can't just ignore it. Those whispers, they seemed almost desperate." I paused, glancing at the window where the night loomed outside. "We need to figure out what they mean." Lily bit her lip, her expression a mixture of curiosity and fear. "Okay, then let's start by looking into the lake's history tomorrow. Maybe we can find something in the library." "Yeah, we should," I replied, thinking of the dusty shelves and forgotten tales that could hold the answers we sought. "But we should be careful, Lily. This feels different, like we're digging into something we shouldn't." As the evening wore on, our conversation shifted towards lighter topics, but the weight of the whispers lingered. I could see it in Lily's eyes. She was just as troubled as I was. After a restless night, our plans took shape the following morning. The local library stood like a forgotten relic from another era, its stone facade weathered by time. I pushed open the heavy wooden door, and a musty smell enveloped us as we stepped inside. The quietness was almost oppressive, broken only by the faint rustling of pages turning. "Where do we even start?" Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She looked around, taking in the towering shelves lined with ancient books. "Let's head to the history section," I suggested. "There might be something on the lake itself." We made our way through the narrow aisles, and as I scanned the spines of the books, I felt an unsettling chill creeping down my spine. It was as if the very walls of the library were holding their breath, waiting for us to uncover something. Finally, I pulled out a book titled Tales of the Lake, Tragedies and Mysteries. "Here, let's see this one," I said, flipping it open to the table of contents. We settled at a small table in the corner, poring over the pages. The stories were grim. Tales of boats capsizing, people vanishing, and ominous warnings from the locals about the lake's treacherous depths. "Look at this," Lily said, pointing to a passage that detailed a drowning that had occurred decades ago. "It says here that a man drowned under suspicious circumstances, and no one ever found his body." "Maybe it's a coincidence," I replied, though I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. We spent hours in the library, lost in the dark history of the lake. Each story seemed to weave a thread of fate that connected us to the drowned man, Ethan Collins, whose whispers haunted our recordings. Just as I was beginning to feel overwhelmed, I noticed a flicker of movement out of the corner of my eye. "Did you see that?" I asked, but Lily was already standing, her gaze fixed on a shadow passing through the stacks. "It's probably just someone else browsing," she said, but her voice trembled slightly. We continued our research, but the atmosphere had shifted. It felt as though eyes were on us, watching from the shadows. When we finally decided to leave, I felt an inexplicable urgency to rush home and listen to the recordings again. As we walked back, the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows on the pavement. My mind raced with thoughts of the drowned man and the chilling stories we'd uncovered. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, and my heart sank. "Jake, what is it?" Lily asked, her voice taut. "It's an anonymous message," I said, my fingers trembling as I read the words. "It says we should stop digging into the drowning incident." "What? Who would send something like that?" she asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. "I don't know," I replied, a knot tightening in my stomach. "But it feels like we're getting closer to something dangerous." We exchanged worried glances, the weight of the unknown pressing down on us. The whispers were growing louder in my mind, calling out to us from the depths of the abyss. We had stumbled into a mystery that felt intertwined with our own lives, and I feared there was no turning back. The evening sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across our cluttered living room. I sat on the floor amidst a sea of papers, old books, and recording equipment, my heart pounding with the weight of discovery. "Ethan Collins," I muttered under my breath, the name echoing ominously in my mind. Lily was perched on the arm of the couch, her brow furrowed as she flipped through an old newspaper, her fingers trembling slightly. "Jake, look at this," she said, her voice a mix of intrigue and unease. She held up a faded photograph, the image grainy yet discernible. It was a picture of a young man with tousled dark hair, a mischievous smile, and eyes that seemed to harbor untold secrets. "This is him. This is Ethan." I leaned closer, a chill creeping down my spine. "He lived just a few blocks away from us," I replied, disbelief threading through my voice. "How could we not have known?" "Maybe it's because no one talks about him anymore," Lily suggested, her tone softening. "What if there's more to his story? We need to dig deeper." The determination in her voice sparked something within me. I grabbed my laptop, opening a search engine, my fingers flying across the keyboard. "Let's see what we can find about his past," I insisted. The screen illuminated our faces, revealing a faded article dated several years back. It spoke of Ethan's struggles, his battles with addiction, the whispers of a turbulent home life, and ultimately, the tragic day at the lake. "Jake, look here." Lily pointed, her voice low. "It mentions that he was last seen arguing with someone just days before he drowned." "Who?" I asked, curiosity piqued. But as I scanned the article, I noticed the name had been omitted, replaced by a simple ellipsis. Why would they leave that out? "Maybe someone didn't want that information getting out," she pondered, her eyes searching mine. "What if it was someone from the town? Someone we know?" A tense silence enveloped us as we contemplated the implications of her words. The walls of our cozy home suddenly felt oppressive, as if they were closing in on us. My mind raced with questions. Who had been involved in Ethan's life, and what secrets were buried beneath the surface? I turned on the recorder, the familiar whirring sound breaking the stillness. "Let's document everything," I suggested. "We can't afford to overlook anything. Maybe the whispers will lead us somewhere." As I pressed the record button, a sense of foreboding washed over me. This is Jake and Lily, and we're investigating the drowning of Ethan Collins. We believe there's more to his story than what's been told. If there's anyone out there who wants to share their truth, we're listening. The room fell silent, but as I played back the recording, a shiver raced down my spine. The whispers returned, clearer now, weaving through the static. "Help me," they echoed, a desperate plea that sent chills skittering across my skin. "What the hell?" Lily gasped, her eyes wide with fright. "Did you hear that?" "Yes," I responded, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's like he's reaching out to us. But why?" "Maybe he needs us to uncover the truth," she speculated, a mix of fear and determination in her gaze. "We can't let this go, Jake. We owe it to him and to ourselves." I nodded, my resolve hardening. "Then we keep searching. We need to find out who he was arguing with. We might need to visit the lake again, see if we can gather more evidence." The thought of returning to that place, where everything had changed, made my stomach twist. But deep down, I knew we had to confront the shadows of the past. "Let's do it," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. As we prepared to leave, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that the very air around us crackled with unspoken words. With each step toward the lake, a sense of dread settled in my chest, intertwining with the thrill of discovery. What awaited us in the dark depths of the water? And would we finally uncover the truth behind Ethan Collins? Or would we become lost echoes in the abyss, forever haunted by the mysteries that lay beneath? The old house creaked as Lily and I stepped inside, the air thick with dust and memories. It felt like walking into a time capsule, each room a silent witness to the life of Ethan Collins. I was both fascinated and terrified. What if we find something that changes everything? I whispered, my voice barely cutting through the oppressive silence. Lily nodded, her eyes wide with anticipation. "We have to be careful, Jake. This place feels off." The dim light filtering through the grimy windows only added to the eerie atmosphere, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. We moved cautiously through the narrow hallway, the wooden floorboards creaking under our weight. I glanced at Lily, who was scanning the walls, perhaps searching for clues about the man who had become an obsession for us. I could see the determination in her eyes, but I could also sense her unease. Let's check the bedroom first, I suggested, trying to sound more confident than I felt. As we entered the small room, I was struck by the remnants of Ethan's life. The unmade bed, the clothes strewn about, and a desk cluttered with papers. My heart raced as I approached the desk, feeling an inexplicable pull toward it. "Look," I exclaimed, pointing to a leather-bound journal half hidden beneath a stack of yellowed papers. "This could be it." Lily joined me, her breath hitching as I carefully lifted the journal. The leather was worn, the corners frayed. I opened it, the pages crackling under my fingers. The handwriting was frantic, scrawled in a way that suggested desperation. "What does it say?" Lily asked, leaning closer, her curiosity piqued. I began to read aloud, the words sending chills down my spine. "The lake is alive," I recited, pausing to glance at Lily's pale face. "It holds the spirits of those who have drowned. I can hear them, whispering. They want to be heard." I looked back at the page, my voice trembling. "I fear I am next." "What do you think he meant?" Lily asked, her brow furrowed in concern. "Did he believe the lake was haunted?" "Seems like it," I replied, flipping through the pages. Each entry painted a picture of Ethan's torment, his battles with his own mind, his obsession with the supernatural, and his growing fear that he would meet the same fate as the spirits he believed were trapped in the water. "This is dark, Lily. Really dark." Suddenly, a sound echoed through the house, a soft whisper that seemed to call my name. "Jake!" It was barely audible, but it sent a jolt of fear through me. I exchanged a worried glance with Lily. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, my heart racing. "Yeah," she replied, her voice shaking. "What was that?" We stood frozen for a moment, the silence amplifying the uncertainty that hung in the air. I shook my head, trying to dismiss it. "It's probably just the wind," I said, though I didn't believe it myself. I forced my attention back to the journal, reading more entries that hinted at Ethan's growing paranoia. He mentioned someone watching him, someone who wants to silence him. Lily's eyes widened. "Do you think it could be related to his death? Maybe he knew something he shouldn't have." I closed the journal, feeling the weight of our discovery settle heavily in my stomach. We need to find out more about Ethan's life. There has to be a reason he was drawn to this lake so intensely. That night, we returned to our apartment, the journal tucked safely in my backpack. We sat in the living room, the only light coming from the flickering candles we had lit. I placed the journal on the coffee table and grabbed our recording equipment. "Let's review the recordings from today," I suggested, eager to see if anything else might reveal itself. As we played back the sounds from the house, the static crackled ominously. I leaned in closer, my heart pounding in anticipation. And then, clear as day, a voice cut through the noise. "Jake!" My breath caught in my throat. "What the hell?" I gasped, looking at Lily, who looked equally shaken. "It's like he knows us." "Maybe he's trying to reach out," Lily said, her eyes wide with fear and intrigue. "But why? What does he want?" Just then, the temperature in the room seemed to drop, and I could see my breath misting in the air. A feeling of dread washed over me, mingling with an inexplicable sense of connection to Ethan. "I think we're more connected to him than we realize," I murmured, feeling a chill run down my spine. Lily's gaze fixed on the recording device, her expression a mix of terror and fascination. "What if we're part of his story now? What if he's not just a ghost, but a warning?" The implications of her words hung between us, thick and suffocating. I swallowed hard, the weight of my own thoughts pressing down on me. "We have to uncover the truth, no matter what it takes," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "But we need to be careful. There's something in the air, something that feels dangerous." As we continued to listen, the whispers grew more insistent, wrapping around us like a shroud. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing at the edge of something profound and terrifying, a darkness that beckoned us closer, tempting us to uncover its secrets. The night air was thick with tension as Lily and I stood at the edge of the lake, our recording equipment clutched tightly in our hands. The water, once a serene blue during the day, now glimmered ominously under the moonlight, its surface rippling with an unsettling energy. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat echoing the dread that had been building since we'd first heard Ethan's voice in our recordings. "Lily, are you sure about this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The stillness of the night surrounded us, amplifying my unease. She turned to me, her eyes reflecting the moonlight, filled with determination. "We need to know what happened to him, Jake. We can't just walk away from this." I nodded, but deep down, I was terrified of what we might uncover. We had already stumbled upon so many dark secrets, and the thought of confronting whatever was haunting this place sent chills down my spine. We set up our equipment along the shore, the sound of crackling leaves beneath our feet blending with the distant call of a lone owl. As we adjusted the microphones, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. "Is it just me, or does it feel like the lake is alive?" I murmured, glancing warily at the water. Lily shivered, rubbing her arms as if trying to ward off an unseen chill. "It feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for something." With the equipment ready, we sat in silence for a moment, the only sounds being our breathing and the gentle lapping of the water against the shore. I pressed record, and we listened intently. At first, there was only silence, but then, like a whisper carried on the wind, I heard it, a faint, familiar voice. "Jake, Lily." My breath caught in my throat. "Did you hear that?" Lily nodded, her eyes wide. "It's him. It's Ethan." The voice grew clearer, resonating with an otherworldly quality that sent shivers down my spine. "Help me. What does he want?" I asked, my voice wavering. "I don't know," she replied, her gaze fixed on the water as if it might reveal the truth. "But we have to find out." We leaned closer to the recording device, straining to catch every word. The whispers grew louder, forming words that sent chills through my entire being. "Truth, buried, danger." "Danger?" I echoed, my breath hitching. "What does that mean?" Suddenly, a wind whipped through the trees, rustling the branches and sending a cascade of leaves swirling around us. The atmosphere shifted, a palpable sense of dread enveloping us as the temperature dropped. "Jake, I think we should go," Lily urged, her voice trembling slightly. But before I could respond, the water began to churn violently, dark waves crashing against the shore. I felt a compulsion to move closer, as if something was pulling me toward the lake. "Jake, don't!" Lily shouted, grabbing my arm. Just then, a flash of lightning illuminated the sky, casting eerie shadows across the water. In that brief moment, I saw it, a shadowy figure rising from the depths, its form indistinct but undeniably human. "Come closer," the voice beckoned, now stronger, more insistent. I felt my heart race, a mix of fear and curiosity gripping me. "Lily, do you see that?" She nodded, her face pale. "We need to leave. Now." But I was frozen, entranced by the figure. It was Ethan, or what remained of him. An overwhelming urge to understand overwhelmed my senses. I took a step forward, the water lapping at my feet. "Ethan, is that you?" I called out, my voice barely audible over the roar of the wind. "Help me," his voice echoed, filled with desperation. A clap of thunder reverberated through the air, and the storm intensified, rain pouring down in torrents. The figure gestured, and I felt an electric charge in the atmosphere, a connection I couldn't explain. "Jake!" Lily screamed, pulling at my arm. "We can't stay here." But just as I began to turn back, I saw a flicker of recognition in Ethan's eyes, or what I believed were his eyes. They were filled with a sorrow that pierced my very soul. "You must know the truth," he implored. I was torn between the haunting call of the lake and the frantic voice of Lily urging me to flee. The storm raged around us, the world blurring into chaos. But one thing was clear. Our lives were entwined with Ethan's, and the truth he held had the power to change everything. The storm raged above us, the wind howling like a tortured spirit. I could feel the electric tension in the air as I clutched the recording equipment tightly, the rain pounding down like a relentless drummer. My heart raced as the shadows danced along the water's edge, and I exchanged a fearful glance with Lily. We had come seeking answers, but the atmosphere felt charged with something far more sinister. "Jake, I don't like this," she said, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of nature's fury. "Maybe we should go back?" "No," I replied, the stubbornness in my voice surprising even me. "We need to confront this. We can't turn back now." As if in response to my defiance, a flash of lightning illuminated the lake, and for a brief moment, I caught sight of a figure rising from the water. My breath caught in my throat. It was a man, his features indistinct but undeniably present. "Do you see that?" I gasped, pointing toward the shimmering surface. "It's just the storm," Lily insisted, but I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. The figure beckoned, its hand raised as if inviting us closer. A chill crept down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this was Ethan Collins, the man whose tragic fate had entwined itself with ours. Before I could think, the wind seemed to sweep me off my feet, pulling me toward the water. "Jake!" Lily screamed, her voice laced with terror, but it felt like I was moving in slow motion. The world around me blurred, and I stumbled into the icy depths, the cold water enveloping me. There, beneath the surface, I saw him, Ethan. His eyes were dark, filled with sorrow and something else, something fierce. "You've come," he said, his voice echoing in my mind more than in the water. "You're finally here." "Ethan," I gasped, the water filling my lungs, but I couldn't drown in his presence. "What do you want from us?" His expression hardened. "You need to know the truth about my death. It wasn't an accident. I was murdered." The weight of his words sank into me like lead. "Murdered?" I choked out, the realization hitting me like a wave. "But why? Who would want to hurt you?" A flicker of pain crossed his face. "The lake holds its secrets, but so does this town. My past, it's tied to those who live here. They're the ones who silenced me." He leaned closer, the water swirling around us. "You and Lily have become part of my quest for vengeance. You need to find them, Jake. You need to uncover the truth." A surge of determination coursed through me, but it was quickly overshadowed by confusion. But how? Why me? Why us? The storm above seemed to quiet for a brief moment, allowing Ethan's voice to resonate clearly. "Because you're connected to me," he said, his gaze piercing into my soul. "You have to listen to the recordings. Your voice, it's been there all along. You are more than just a witness. You were meant to be the one to unravel this." As I struggled to comprehend his words, a sudden jolt of recognition hit me. The whispers I had heard, the echoes in the recordings, they were my own. My voice, entwined with Ethan's, had cried out for help, revealing a bond that transcended time and space. "No, this can't be," I stammered, my mind racing. "I can't be. Reincarnation is a cycle, Jake," he interrupted, his tone grave. "You are me, and I am you. Our fates are intertwined. Only together can we seek justice." Just then, a bolt of lightning struck nearby, illuminating the chaos around us. I felt myself being pulled back, the water releasing its grip as the storm began to dissipate. I resurfaced, gasping for air, and Lily was there, her face pale with fear and confusion. "Jake, what happened?" she cried, reaching for me, her hands trembling. I saw him," I panted, the reality of Ethan's revelation crashing over me like the waves against the shore. "Lily, we're in this together. We have to find out who killed him, and we have to do it before it's too late." As the storm subsided, the weight of our shared destiny hung heavy in the air. The whispers, the shadows, the truth, they were all waiting for us, just beneath the surface, and I could feel the echoes of the abyss calling us deeper into its dark embrace.